Hey, how's it going? Joshua here with I Cut Grass, and it is January the 4th, 2019, just after 8 o'clock in the morning Eastern Standard Time here in central Indiana. Today I want to talk with you about having a book for estimates and for leads, and then also having what I refer to having an Ask My Accountant book. But before I get into that briefly, guys, you know the spiel if you've watched my videos. Please consider liking, or rather subscribing to this YouTube channel, if you will. And if you know somebody that you think could benefit from this in the lawn care industry, I hope that you would share this with them too. Keep in mind that the whole goal behind this, as I always say, is to help people, plain and simple. I want to help people so you can think a little more, think more critically about your own operation, and find ways to improve the efficiency of your business and ultimately become more successful. Now, what I have here is what I created and what I refer to as my lead/estimate book. And what I want to say here is that every time I do an estimate, I log it into this book, and I'll talk about this book here in a minute, but I also log it into my QuickBooks account. And whether I sell the service or not, rather, if I don't sell the service, I will do a follow-up 6 weeks out from the estimate. Just, hey, how's it going? Have things worked out well with your new provider? And then I will do a follow-up the coming spring, and usually in February, really, or late February, or early March, and sit down out an estimate again and try to address whatever objection that they had at the time for them not choosing my service, or my company for their services. Now, I created this book out of scratch, and I put it on a Word document, and I just sent it up to the UPS store to have them print it and bind it, because I don't have a binder, and I didn't want to use a 3-ring binder. I thought that this format that I created was a little more neat, and it kept information where I wanted it to be. But again, every time someone calls for an estimate, or they call and ask about something, I log it into my book, and then I log it into QuickBooks. If you have questions on the book that I created, feel free to comment below, and I'll give you some tips so that you can create your own book. But you want to be accountable, because here's what happens. As time progresses on this book, I will go through here. I like a paper copy, just so I have a paper copy. I can grab it with me, and I can have a visual. And I like an e-copy in case something happens to this. There's a backup. If I end up selling the service to the customer, I'll go back and I'll highlight the entire area with green. And then if I don't get the sell or the service and the commitment and the contract from the customer, I will highlight it in pink, and then I'll write down what my objection is. And then I always practice overcoming those objections in a non-pushy fashion, because you want to close the sales. Oftentimes you'll hear no when you can get a yes, but usually what I have found over the course of time is oftentimes if I take the time to talk with the person and discuss their needs, okay, and I present them, I never get an objection. Let's be honest, I haven't recorded what the math is. I don't know that I can say I never get an objection. It's almost never that I get an objection. So this will help you to be accountable and help you to stay organized. And remember, when you don't get the sell, that's not a gone lead. You don't throw it away. You follow up with them again, like I mentioned a few minutes ago. Follow up with them in 6 weeks. Okay, get a phone call if you can. If you don't get them, don't leave a voicemail the first time. Call again. And if you don't get them, maybe leave a voicemail or put something in the mail, thank you. And then always follow up with them at the top of the next spring. Now, moving on. I have a 3-ring binder that I bought that I keep, that I refer to as my Ask My Accountant. Okay, and these are questions that come up throughout the season that I need an answer to, that maybe not be an immediate emergency, but something I need to ask my accountant. And I keep that with my estimate book, and it's always with me, because these questions come up in my mind maybe when I'm out mowing with the guys, when I'm out doing estimates, if I'm in a meeting or whatever. I always have it with me. But I'll give you an idea of some of the stuff that comes up. This last year, I invoiced one of my customers through QuickBooks, and of course then I sent the payment request from Chase. And Chase, what they did is they updated their online format, okay, so that you have to go through a couple different steps in a different fashion to request money from a customer. And by default, which I have down now, and I've got committed to memory. One of the first icons that pulls up when you do a Chase Quick Pay transaction is it logs you into the send payment option to a customer. Instead of request money, it's a send. So I went to invoice a customer one day, and I accidentally sent him the invoice amount. Okay, so what I had to do is go back and request the money that I sent to him as well as the money for the invoice. And so it was going to be double the income from here, and I wasn't certain how to record that into QuickBooks, and I wanted to make sure that my accountant didn't look and visualize that and record that as, 2 times the amount of sales, okay, because it wasn't. So I would put that little note in here, and then I would follow up with him, or I'll follow up with him at the end of the year. I also keep this for questions that have to do with transactions maybe that aren't pressing for an immediate answer, but I need to know by the end of the calendar year for taxes. And so I'll keep a separate list in the book for that, and then when I send out all my information to him at the end of the year to file the taxes, I'll create a spreadsheet or something with those questions. I'll email it to him, and I will ask him to email those back to me with the answers when he's done filing my taxes. This gives me an e-copy that I can file in my CPA folder in my email account, and then also it gives me a paper copy that I can print out that I can keep with all my taxes at the end of the year, because questions will come up, okay? And oftentimes I'm so busy that I can't get to him right away, or again, it's not something that's pressing, and I don't want to hound him with numerous questions all the time, because I know what it's like to have a workload. If I can send him one email at the end of the year for questions that can be addressed at that point in time, I would rather do that than hit him up with questions each week or each month or whatever. So here we are again. Get yourself a 3-ring binder and dedicate it to an Ask My Accountant. And what you might also do is do one for your insurance agent, but I don't know that you need a book. Anytime you ask questions to your insurance agent, understand that your answers are going to be pinned on his or her experience and whether or not they do the research. So if you ask a question, you send them an email and say, hey, I need to know, is my trailer covered in my current policy? And if they say yes, on the email back, you file that. Okay, you file it. You always file the answers to your insurance questions, because if you have a loss, oftentimes you have something to refer to. Oftentimes insurance agents might not understand their policy, or oftentimes they might give you misinformation. I was an insurance agent for several years. I understand how this works. So keep these types of files for your own good, and I think you'll find that your business will run more efficiently. I don't know what's going on with the computer here. It's kind of faded out. There we are. If you have questions, guys, please go ahead and comment below. I hope that this helps. If it helps, maybe you can make a comment below that is giving you some ideas. Thanks for watching the videos, guys. I'll be in touch soon.